Welcome, everyone. This is Caroline Guntur here, coming to you from my home office. Welcome to the report for March 2024. I have a lot to tell you that happened this past month, so let's get right into it. Um, First, I want to say that I'm excited to actually be home in my home office. Normally, I'm on the road a lot, and I'm actually feeling really grounded and I chose to do the report this month on my home computer here with my microphone and my regular audio setup. We actually had a great coaching call yesterday in my high ticket program, Mindful Monday Mapping, where we talked about the path of least resistance and how sometimes uh, when you want to create a video or do something or go live or whatever, you feel like you have to get everything perfectly done. Like you have to get the lighting right, and you have to get the microphones and the DSLR out and makeup and the hair and all of that. And we all sort of came to the conclusion that sometimes you just got to do what's easiest and forget about all of that stuff, right? So here I am, actually coming to you from my regular computer, my big iMac. Um, Normally, I would shoot on a DSLR or I would shoot with my phone or something like that. But this month, this is what it's going to be because I would rather just get this done than have to deal with an elaborate setup or a fancy backdrop or anything like that. So, hope you're okay with that. I'm going to be okay with that. That's just what it is. We are taking the path of least resistance. So, with that out of the way, let me tell you why I publish these productivity reports. So, for many, many years, I read income reports from some of my favorite bloggers and content creators. And it was always really interesting to see how they ran their business. Like, you got to see the back end of it and where they spent their money, how they made their money, what they prioritized, how they made decisions, and all of that. I really, really enjoyed it. There were a few that I followed that did kind of the similar thing. And I was inspired by that. And then I thought, well, I'm not a financial genius. I do make money in my business. It has been profitable from day one, which I'm very proud of, but that's not really my thing. I am an organizing and productivity coach, and I help people who have brilliant minds and who are very creative and artistic and just want to get their work out. I help them get things done. I help them get things done in an easy way, in a fun way, in a productive way that doesn't feel heavy. So that's my expertise. So why not share that, right? So what I wanted to do is create income reports for myself that are not focused on finances, but that are actually focused on productivity and project management and talk about how I meet my goals, how I do things in my business to get the most ROI on my time, and then just, how I live basically and how I am able to work less while still achieving everything that I set out to achieve. So that's why I do this. And doing this report obviously adheres to all of the things I'm teaching. So I have several programs. You can find them all on my website at theswedishorganizer.com. We have everything from baby programs for beginning entrepreneurs all the way to very advanced CEOs and global leaders. So there's something for everybody there. And no matter where you are in your stage of learning about project management and productivity and creating the life that you want, you'll be able to find something that fits you for sure. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, but I'm confident that you'll be able to see exactly where you fit in on the scale once you head over to the website. So, if you haven't watched any of the other productivity reports, you can find them on YouTube as well as on my blog. The blog is theswedishorganizer.com/blog. And obviously, my YouTube channel has the visual video versions of that. So I do too. I do a writing, version basically where I write everything out and get my thoughts down for those who like to read. And then I do a visual talking version for those who like to listen and watch. And you can do both. You can listen to both. There's more details over on the blog, but I talk about the big picture here. That helps me also stay in touch with you, be accountable to myself about what I'm doing, and yeah, just have fun and actually measure my progress, which is a huge part of what I teach. Um, so let's talk about how March 2024 went. Actually, how I felt going into March. I was cold. I was cold but happy. Chicago, where I currently live, is freezing that time of year, and I love snow and ice, being the Scandinavian that I am. But I get cold really, really easily, and so I don't really like that. And yeah, if you've been to Chicago, you know how brutal the weather can get here. It's not as bad this year, but it can get pretty chilly. So because of that, we often head out on vacation around, Feb, March, around that time. And this year we went back home to Hawaii. And I say home because that's where I used to live. I lived there for many, many years, right in the middle of Waikiki, and I loved it. Back then, though, the remote work world was not really a thing yet. And so, unless you were sort of into the hospitality industry or the travel industry, it was a little bit tricky to find jobs there and opportunities. And so that's why I came to the mainland. I actually came to do my master's degree. But um, had I known that the remote work was going to be such a big thing, I don't know, I may have reconsidered. I'm not regretting the move, of course. I love Chicago. I've always loved Chicago. It's always been a big part of me as well. I've come here before I moved here, and always, had I don't know, some sort of a connection with Chicago whenever I would see it in movies and TVs and all of that. So it's definitely a big part of me too. I don't regret this move for a bit, but Hawaii was the first place that I really felt at home in. And it took a while to get there, of course. But if you watch last month's productivity report, I actually shot it in my old neighborhood in Hawaii. So you get to hear more about that in that video. Um, but yeah, being back in the islands was so energizing. I'm always so happy when I come back there. I am an island girl by heart. I've always been an island girl. But as I write in my productivity report this month, I've sort of always questioned it, and I haven't been able to put my finger on exactly why I'm an island girl. And what I have now figured out, it's that it is the pace that suits me. And that is actually my takeaway from March. So anytime I'm on an island, I've been to Oahu, obviously, a lot. Um, New Providence, Puerto Rico, Iceland, like anytime I'm on an island, I feel so at home. And for the longest time, I'm like, what is it that really gets me about that? There's something that attracts me to islands, and I'm not sure what it is. And now I figured out that it's actually the life pace that suits me. It's not the weather or anything obvious like that. Um, it's the life pace that suits me. So your life pace is like your ideal rhythm and intensity by which you live your life. And I think every person has an ideal pace, and it's about matching up your external environment to your internal pace. And that's where I'm such a good match for the islands. Um, it's kind of like the intensity and movement around you. So if you live uh, in the countryside, or you're like a little bit of a slower pace, um, that's probably going to make you a lot happier. If you like a lot of movement and busyness around you, and always having some sort of uh, extroverted, I don't know, extroverted movement, I guess I should say, around you, then you probably want to be more in a city. Nothing wrong with either of them. I think it's just a matter of matching up who you are with where you need to be. So I don't need a whole lot of movement around me. Okay. I like it when it's calm, when it's grounded. Um, I like peace. Maybe it has something to do with me growing up in Sweden, which is very peaceful and very calm and quiet. Um, I don't know, but that's something that I always look for, is I don't like a lot of movement and busyness around me. I don't feel like that contributes to my ideal environment at all. So my true measure of success nowadays is actually being aligned and having that ideal lifestyle pace. I want that to be um, the way, like when I reflect, I want that to be the way that I think about how successful I am. So I remember doing actually a video with my friend Jale about this. It's also on my YouTube channel, and it's about my leadership lens. She has a beautiful framework of leadership styles, and she explained to me that my leadership style is environment and spaces, which explains totally why I am an organizing pro, right? Why I am very good at priming my environments. It's my premier need. So because it's my premier need, I feel like I have to make that my top priority, and that's when I'm the most happy. If you haven't learned your leadership lens, by the way, be sure to head over to her website, leadyourdesign.com, and get the assessment done. It is amazing what you can learn about yourself from that. So shout out to Jelly. Thank you for doing that for me. It's been absolutely revolutionary to understand myself so much better. And so now I know exactly how to prioritize because I know that I need a calm, peaceful, strong environment around me. And that's when I do my best work. I thrive in environments that are low stress, but very productive. And I think throughout your life, your ideal lifestyle pace can change. And I think that's really important that you check in with yourself every now and then because I remember being in my 20s and wanting a lot more excitement and movement around me. I wanted to go out all the time and have fun all the time and meet new people all the time. Now, I'm a little bit older. Um, I still love doing all of that, but I'm more selective and I need a little bit more quiet around me. So there's a season for everything. And that's what came up for me this month because I saw the stark contrast between Chicago and Hawaii and how I feel when I'm in either space. And so it was interesting that it came up for me as well as my clients. I spoke to several clients while I was in Hawaii and several friends as well. And a lot of them said very similar things. It's like the pressure of everyday responsibilities, um, kind of contribute to their environment not feeling supportive, and then they feel less grounded. So I just think it's so important that you check yourself and understand what type of environment you need to be in order to do your best work and feel happy and feel productive. Because how you feel, it has a lot to do with how you do, if that makes sense, right? Like the amount of things that you can accomplish when you feel good is amazing. And if you don't feel good, you are not going to get that much done. That's just the way it works. So how you measure your success has to really align with how you value yourself, how you see your priorities, how you see your environment, and what you need in order to feel good so that you can do better, right? Um, and it could be different things for different people. For me, my true measure of success is an ideal lifestyle pace, no question about it. If I have that, that's my first need. I can do amazing work. But for you, it might be different. It might be that, oh, I want to make as much money as possible, or oh, I want to, have more freedom, or this or that. Totally fine to have different goals like that, right? But you have to make sure that it aligns with what you say and what you do. Otherwise, you're going to be totally out of alignment, you're going to be lost and you're going to feel deeply unhappy. And I don't want that for you. We don't want that for anybody, right? So definitely check yourself and make sure you prioritize right. And if you need help prioritizing, and you don't know where to start with that, hop on a call with me and let's just talk it out. I love helping point people in the right direction. So it would be really, really fun to help you talk about your goals and just see how we can better align your environment with your internal pace. One thing that I really want to point out is that movement and speed should absolutely not be confused with work ethic, productivity, or progress. Okay? Because it is perfectly possible to run in place. It's perfectly possible to go in circles and not be productive, but move at a really great speed, right? Don't want you to confuse those things. Those are not the same things. So I'm an incredibly diligent worker. I'm a hard worker. I like to be extremely productive, but I don't like a lot of busyness around me, right? I need a calm environment when I'm being productive. So I think it's just because it cuts out a lot of the noise and I get to focus. And I am so passionate about being focused because I know that getting into that deep space of doing that work is what gets me results. Being able to focus on exactly what you're doing, cut out all the distractions and all the movement and all the busyness, that works for me. And you have to find what works for you. Some people like a lot of movement around them in order to get things done. In fact, I have one friend that has to have the TV on, right? And they work because they need a little bit of background noise. I can't necessarily do that. I've tried those things in the past, but it just doesn't work for me. I love my alpha waves. So for anybody who uses that or who may need a little bit more grounding, try alpha waves. I just have a Spotify account and I turn that on and I get in the zone right away. So there's lots of different ways that you can find your focus, but I find that for me, cutting out the busyness helps me actually work faster. So I think there's this misconception that a workplace has to be busy in order to be high impact. And that is not true. Okay, I wrote an article about this just the other day, so hop on over and read that on the blog. Busy environments tend to be actually very stressful and unproductive because there's not enough time to reflect and pause and see where you're going, right? So I teach and I prefer the opposite, that I would rather um, do one thing really, really well than multitask and do a bunch of things poorly. Like that just doesn't get you anywhere, right? So I wrote an article about how multitasking actually doesn't work, even though it's sort of revered as this really great skill to have. I don't believe that that's true, and it's not what I teach. I believe that you can do so much better and you can create so much more when you're deeply focused. So that's what I really want to highlight. I also make sure that I make good decisions around what to prioritize. And that's actually what we're going to talk about in our next coaching call for April in Mindful Monday Mapping. So I know a lot of the students are looking forward to that. So yeah, it was an interesting month, and it was fascinating to see how this came up for me, as well as for clients, as well as for friends. It seems like the universe just has this message that I'm supposed to deliver, and this is it. Think about your ideal lifestyle pace and how that really affects who you are and how much you achieve and what you want to achieve in the future. I'm really curious. So, let me know in the comments below if you know what you want. Do you want money? Do you want freedom? Do you want recognition? Like, what are you working towards? What are you working for? And you might say all of the above, great, but there has to be one that stands out more than the others. And I would love to know what that is. So let me know in the comments, and I'll be curious to hear your thoughts. All right, so let's jump into how productive Caroline was in March 2024. Um, I was in the islands, so I actually felt incredibly productive because, again, it was an ideal environment for me. And February was kind of a fail. If you remember watching that video, I was talking about how I made one wrong decision and that derailed my entire month. And that's why it's so important to be good at decision making. And every now and then, you're going to make the wrong decision, and that's fine. We don't have to harp on it. We have to just move on. But reflecting and learning from it is so important. So watch that video if you're interested in hearing about February and what happened there. This month went so much better. In fact, I felt so good being back in the islands, getting sun every day, being in the water all the time, that I'm considering moving back. Time will tell. We'll see if that actually happens. But because that's my premier need, I have to take that really seriously. This month, I did not let any fear or anything like that interfere with my decision making, and it was so much better. I did so much better. So I really can't overstate how powerful it is to remove some of these fake criteria from your decision making, like fear, hesitation, low confidence, doubt, anything like that. Just say to yourself, look, I'm not going to make decisions based on that. They might still be there, and that's fine, but I'm not going to listen to it and let that stop me. So if you just accept that you're going to be able to do things in spite of being scared, in spite of not being sure if you can do it or not, in spite of doubt, in spite of hesitation, and you just assume that, yeah, I'll figure it out, things just start going so much better. It really is life-changing. So if I can encourage you to remove fear as a criteria in your decision making, please do it. You will never want to go back after you change, and things just go so much better. So in March, I completed 3 projects. I actually worked on 9 of them all together, but I completed 3, which is exactly my goal. My goal has been to complete 3 per month for a good few years now, and that has been my ideal pace. I find that that's a round good number that I can stick to. I often exceed it, but sometimes I'm right on track. And because I spent so much time outside and, you know, being active and surfing and this and that, I actually just did the bare minimum, which is three. And they still had a lot of impact. It still went really fine. They were completed on time, and I met my goal. So that was really nice. One was much bigger than the others, so that claimed all of my attention once I got back from Hawaii, but I still was able to do it on time. And just a little bit of extra planning helped that one work out really, really smoothly. So I'm going to stick with that goal for the rest of the year. Next year, we'll see what happens, but definitely three per month is a good number for me. Um, yeah, it's my ideal pace. And there we go. You got to find what works and find that rhythm, and that's what makes the difference. My favorite project in March of 2024 was actually finishing the sales page for my mini course. It's called The Bookend Approach to Productivity. And that is my mini course on liminal opening and closing routines for your business. So it's for anybody who is perhaps a new entrepreneur, or just new to running a business for yourself, how to be more productive during your day, how to set intentions, how to set a win of the day, how to open and close your day, being able to switch tasks productively and not feel tug from any distractions, and really just up leveling your daily productivity, increasing your sales, increasing your positivity, all of that. I'm very proud to say that people are having really amazing results with that course. And yeah, it was time, it needed a sales page. So I finished that sales page, and it turned out all right. Now I can always go back and improve it, but it is done and it's up and running. So that was my favorite project. Sales pages are always interesting to write. It's actually good to do it because it forces you to get really clear on your offer and why you are selling this and why you are interested in helping people with this thing. So it's actually good to do that. If you don't have sales pages, make sure you get on that. I also this month mailed out the first edition of my new newsletter. It's called Creating Space, and you can sign up on my website if you want to get it. I named it Creating Space because that's what I'm always trying to do. I'm trying to create space in your calendar. I'm trying to create space in your home. I'm trying to create space in your life. So it was like a really fully encompassing word play, I thought, that worked nicely. And in the past, I have felt like sending out a newsletter hasn't been maybe the best course of action, but I decided to rethink that this year because a lot of my clients have been telling me, like, oh, I get so many emails, I can't keep up, and I don't want to be the person that actually adds to that. So instead of sending multiple emails throughout the month, I'm actually sending just one or maybe two at most. And that's again me trying to create space for people, so that there's less to keep up with, less to take in, less noise, less busyness, but then you still get all the information in one place. So yeah, my first edition is actually as well available on my ConvertKit creator profile. You can find the link as well on my website. And the second one is coming out in just a few days. So make sure you go and sign up for my email list if you're interested in reading that. We have some really cool things coming up, so I'm sure you'll want to hear about that. All right, so now let's move into how many hours I worked in March of 2024. The clock stopped at 88 hours and 40 minutes, which is about 22 hours or so per week. And it was a little less than what I've set out to do. So normally my goal is about 25 hours per week, but obviously that's okay because I was on vacation. I wasn't on vacation, like I was still working, but I was on vacation in that I was on an island out in the Pacific. So it was kind of me working remotely and taking it a little bit easier, even though I wasn't off completely. So it makes sense that, that I did a little bit less this month. And yeah, I spent a lot of extra hours in the ocean, so that could maybe account for some of that. But I still love seeing that I came in under. It's better than to go over. So that's nice to see at least. I track my time in Trackabee, which if you head over to the blog and see, you can see some screenshots and a little bit more around how that works and how I measure how I spend my time. Um, I love Trackabee because the reports are so clear to read and they're so easy to follow. And when you have a really good setup and you know what you're tracking and why you're tracking those things and what you're measuring, then you get such clarity around how you spend your time. And that's actually the first step. In order to spend your time better, you kind of have to know where it's going currently. So I make it a point every month to review where my time is going and where it went, and if that was the correct decision or not. And you won't believe the results I get from just doing that. That's actually part of the whole Mindful Monday mapping technique as well. It's like we have to reflect on what's happening in order to know how to adjust, right? And um, I need to see exactly where my time goes and how I manage it. Obviously, I'm good at it. That's what I do for a living. But I love seeing how it is a direct result of my decision making and prioritization every month. You can't expect to just find time, right? For what matters. You have to intentionally set aside and make time for what matters. And that's where all of this prioritization comes in, all the decision making. It's like you have to consciously spend the time where you want to spend the time. And if you can't do that now, how are you going to do it when you get more busy, right? Or when life takes a turn, right? You have to be able to do that at any given point in life. So I highly recommend you track your time, not for everything, but for the goals that you have where it matters. And just reflect on how you are spending your time and if that's actually what's moving the needle or not for you. One thing I want to mention is that if you actually, again, sorry to make you hop over to the blog, I'll link it down below, but like if you look at the report, you'll be able to see exactly how much small steps make up, right? So a lot of us in the productivity industry, we teach the power of small steps and just getting started and just creating movement. And you can see just how much it adds up to. So in my bookend approach, I obviously teach that as a course, but I also practice it myself. Um, I set aside about 5 to 15 minutes every morning, 5 to 15 minutes every evening to open and close my workday productively. And you can see that it adds up to a lot of hours spent really, really well. That's where I make the majority of sales now because I consciously remind myself, like, oh, yeah, I got to make a sale today, you know? Um, so putting in just a few minutes every day adds up to over 15 hours, I believe it was this month, and like every month. That is huge. Like that makes such a difference in the bottom line of your business that I can't even begin to explain what transformative results you'll see from it. So remind yourself, every day about prioritization and what makes the difference, and you'll see massive, massive results. In March, I took 3,144 new photos, and I actually kept a lot of them. I only deleted about 219, so I had quite a few photos to add to my archive this month. I am also a certified photo organizer, so photos are a big part of my life. They're a big part of my marketing for my business, and I teach people how to manage their digital assets, how to manage their photo libraries, how to find what they need among millions or thousands or whatever it happens to be of photos. And that's because I've become really good at that, doing it for myself and for clients, right? Like I take a lot of photos and I need to be able to keep track of them and I need to be able to find what I need really, really fast. Over in Hawaii this month, I did 3 photo shoots for my business. All of them turned out great. I kept the majority of those shots. And then we took the regular vacation snaps. So that's that. That's for my personal archive. They all live together, but still they're business versus personal. And then, yeah, I don't think I deleted too much. I do screenshots every now and then, but they go either directly into Notion, or I take a note some other way, and then I delete it. So I actually never have a ton of screenshots to worry about. So, yeah, I kept the majority of the photos, and it was actually nice to see that influx of creativity come through. I really, really liked it. Um, For a normal person, quote unquote, like not a business owner, just like a private person working on their with their own photos, I normally recommend the 80/20 rule. Or maybe 30% of photos or so you keep and then you get rid of the rest. Uh, but for us content creators and for those of us running a business, we need a little bit more than that every now and then. It's just really important that we have things to choose from, right? Like when I make sales pages, when I post on Instagram, when I post on TikTok, like I just need so much more content than the regular average non-business owner. So I feel like I get to keep a little bit more. So I have a better selection. Yeah, you can never have too many photos of yourself when you're a business owner. Okay, so let's move on to the big one, steps walked in March 2024. No surprise, Hawaii is phenomenal for getting out and being active. In fact, it's normally rated like the number one place, I think, in the States to be healthy. Uh, the weather is amazing. I mean, there's just no better weather than Hawaii. And there's so many activities to do. You can always go out and do something, and that's what we would do when we're there. So we just have no problems at all staying active. Um, we walked this month 304,793 measured steps, and that is close to 10,000 steps a day, right? Which is a huge leap from what happens when I'm here in Chicago. And that's actually one of the reasons why I'm considering maybe I should go back because again, priming that environment and making sure that I set myself up for success to be the best me is so important. It's the one thing that I need. And Hawaii just seems to support my needs. It just, the pace is there, the activities are there. I really have to stop and think about how much longer I'm going to stay here in Chicago. I feel like the time may be up soon. Even though I love this city, it's no longer matching up to the person I want to be. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, in a previous report, I was talking exactly about this as well. I think it was the one when I was in India of, how your environment really just has to support your goals. It is huge. I cannot overstate. You can either paddle upstream or you can cruise downstream. And Hawaii for me seems to be downstream all the time. So I really have to think about um, some of the, decisions around where I want to live in the future. Um, Hiking is something that we do a lot in Hawaii. Surfing is something that we do a lot. Both of those burn a ton of calories. And so, yeah, we had no problems at all staying active. And it's just a sharp contrast. My goal has been 5,000 steps a day for the past year. And 10,000, I mean, it's almost double without blinking. So you can see what a difference that makes. Yeah, sustainable change takes time, though. It's not something that happens overnight, so I'm going to keep working on it, and it'll be interesting to see how I do in other places this year as well. So next month I'll be in Sweden, then in the summer I'll be in California, um, heading back to Europe in the fall for sure. So we'll see what happens when I'm out and about in those places. But for sure, any walking environment with a warmer climate I have no problem meeting that goal. When it's colder or when I don't have access to sidewalks or parks or something like that, it's so much harder to meet that goal. But we'll see what happens. On to home cooked meals in March. So since I wasn't home, I'm using the term home cooked very loosely here. Uh, we could call it hotel cooked or convenience meals. I don't know what to call it really. I did not meet my goal this month. My goal has been 75% of meals should be cooked at home as opposed to eating out. We came in at 62% in March. Obviously, that's because we were not at home. And so I was kind of expecting that and I relaxed a little bit and I was like, you know what, it's okay because in a hotel, you just don't have access to the same things. You might not have a microwave, you might not have a stove or an oven. It's just a lot harder. But what I was happy with is that we chose very healthy meals when we were eating outside. So we had a lot of poke bowls. We had, vegan tofu ramen, like that kind of stuff. It wasn't like super unhealthy meals. Um, A fair amount of L&L slipped in, I will admit that, but you can't go to Hawaii and not have L&L, right? So that's not right. So I'm okay with that. In fact, I would go to Hawaii just to have L&L at some point. So um, I had to sort of relax and give myself a break on that. And that kind of just illustrates that you don't always have to do things perfectly all the time. You can let go and have some breathing room around what you're doing. The goals don't have to be perfectly on point every single month. It's okay. The key is to keep, an eye on it consistently over time. And like you slip 1 month, totally fine. 2 months, okay. 3 months, not great, but you still have time to get back on track. It's when you start getting into 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and it not doesn't change. Let's pay attention to that, right? But 1 month, it dips a little, it's not a big deal. So 62%, I was totally okay with that. I'm sure we'll hit 75% next month. So yeah, you gotta have that musubi, the vegan kind. But yeah, what are you gonna do? This month, I read a book that I've been looking forward to for a long time. It was 12 Notes on Life and Creativity by Quincy Jones. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Quincy Jones. I mean, who isn't, right, at this point? So yeah, I've been wanting to get to that book for quite a while, and I got the Audible version, so I listened to it. And yeah, I was so inspired reading it. I would highly recommend it to anyone. Just a really good, entertaining, all-around book in hearing stories about him as a musician coming up. And I learned a lot actually that I didn't know about him, like how he toured in Europe, how he came close to giving up. And then he was like, no, let me try one more time. Let me make this work. And I feel like it's so funny that in hindsight, like we never think about those moments because now, like we know how it turned out. It turned out fine. It turned out great, right? But just think about how there was a point when that wasn't obvious, And I feel like a lot of us sometimes are in those moments where it's not going as great as we're thinking, or it's not going well, and we're like, should I give up? And the magic is in those moments because that is when you create those changes, right? That's when you don't give up. And the people who don't give up in those moments, they're the ones who make it. All of us are going to have those moments, but those are the moments where the winners are made. And I just loved hearing about those stories and how he turned it around and how he never gave up and how he always believed. And it just made me think like how much conviction and determination you have to have as a creative, as an artist, as a business owner, as a human, just to get through some hard moments. But when you do, it's magic. Um, I also loved seeing how similar him and I are as people. Obviously, that has nothing to do with music. I will probably never get to his level of music. I'll try, but that's a lofty goal. So we're not going to think about that. Um, but I feel like our attitudes towards life and values and all that just match up. I think that's why I admire him so much, why I look up to him. I just think we have so much in common in the way we view things. And yeah, I really loved hearing all the stories that he had to share. So it's a really great book. Again, it's called 12 Notes on Life and Creativity. You will definitely learn a lot reading it. Um, he was in my hometown a couple of years ago. We have an annual jazz festival in Ystad, and I was not able to attend, and I was so sad that I missed it. I would have loved to hear him speak. Um, he's actually worked in Sweden quite a bit. I believe he's done a film score, and he's quite knowledgeable about Swedish music, actually, and he talked about that a little bit. So that was fun to see as well. I love how much travel he has done. He actually has in this book a whole chapter on traveling and how it opens the door to so many different things, like the culture, the food, the people, the language, when you just know a few words. And that's again one of those values that I hold as well. It's like the key to understanding the world better really is to get traveling and to listen to other people and to open your mind and learn a bit of the language and understand the culture and all of that. And he does that so well. He actually had a quote that I'm gonna show you. He says, "How can you expect to create art that transcends boundaries if you can't do that yourself?" I mean, isn't that amazing? Doesn't that say everything you need to know about traveling and creativity and how it all comes together? Inspiration, I feel like always happens to me when I'm out traveling and meeting new people and taking in new things. So I think that's so true. So remember that. How can you expect to create art that transcends boundaries if you can't do that yourself? Brilliant. Okay, let's move on to meaningful conversations. I have this as a topic because I highly, highly value relationships and networking, and I just have so much fun catching up with people and doing that. I am an introverted person, but I don't mind being extroverted for a bit and just getting to know people and hearing about what's going on in their lives. I love that. I had a bunch of virtual tea dates scheduled when I was in Hawaii, but they got a little bit hoisted because we had a trip a thing that happened, like a little incident where we didn't quite make our flight, so I had to reschedule some things. But uh, even despite that, I still had so many meetings. I caught up with so many people. Um, one of the people I talked to was Julie, my colleague and friend from some years ago, and we hadn't talked since like well before the pandemic, I think. So it was really nice to catch up with her, and she just got married. So congratulations, Julie, if you're watching. Um, I wish I could have been there with you, but yeah, I hope you're happy, and it was so nice to talk to you. I also talked to my colleague Patty Hop that I just saw actually over in Columbus. So hi, Patty, if you're watching, good to see you as well. And everybody else that I talked to in March, thank you so much for your presence and for keeping me updated on what's going on in your life. It's always just fun to hear and chat a little bit about everything, you know. It doesn't always have to be about business. Um, and I do want to shout out Matt from Shaka Surfing Academy. Um, he's a great instructor. If you're ever in Hawaii and you need a surfing instructor, give him a call. You'll have a great time. We call him every time now that we're in Hawaii. We never go out alone, you know, safety and all of that, right? Um, you might fall off the board and get hurt, or you know, something might happen or whatever. And it's just always nice to have an extra set of hands. He's like, you know, CPR qualified and this and that, and so we get him to lug all the equipment around. So thank you, Matt, for doing that for us. Um, yeah, just give him a call if you're ever in Hawaii and you want to test your skills on the water. He's a great instructor, fun guy, great storyteller. And I have his link as well in the productivity report, and I'll put it underneath this video as well. So it's Shaka Surfing Academy. He's great. Thanks, Matt. If you're watching, we will see you very soon, hopefully. March was another really great month too in terms of celebrating accomplishments. So I kept the role sort of from last month where I recorded a bunch of testimonials with some of my students. I recorded two more this month, and that was for DPO Pro as well for quarterly planning. So I talked to Lisa and Susan. Thank you, ladies, if you are watching. So nice to hear your experiences about, you know, what you thought you needed, what you got out of the courses or the sessions, and your take on things, and why you jumped in and all that. I have again all of those videos on my YouTube channel as well as on the blog. There's one, so you can take a look at those. I like doing interviews with people about their experiences in my program because I want to hear the real story and like what were people thinking when they jumped in, you know, what place were they coming from? Um, what change did it make in their life? And it's just fun for me to hear that because it makes me realize that my work is contributing. So it's one of the ways that I feel happy that I'm able to help. And I think it's important for my students as well to reflect on how far they've come in order to kind of feel and let that success sink in. Because sometimes it's so hard to notice like how much better you're doing. But then if you stop and pause and you look back, you're like, wow, I actually did a lot of things this year. And it's so nice. It's so nice to see that. So we memorialize that in YouTube videos, and it's just fun. Yeah, I have a whole video playlist called Testimonials. So feel free to jump in and have a listen to their takeaways. So much fun to listen to. All right, final section. We're going to talk about tea of the month. I want to give a shout out to TWG and their Silver Moon tea. It's a really, really nice tea. So if you like white teas, if you like Earl Grey's, you'll like this one. It's actually a green tea, but it tastes like white tea and it's light and airy and it just has a very distinct flavor. It has infusions of berry and vanilla, and it's just such a good morning tea if you don't want something that's too strong. And I have it on hand for all my guests. Anytime I have a house guest over or something like that, I always give them this one. It's a very nice blend and a very nice introduction to tea as opposed to coffee. So highly recommend that one, Silver Moon from TWG. You can get it from any reseller or online. I'll put the link as well in the productivity report and underneath this video. So shout out to TWG. Fantastic product. And I'm not an affiliate. I'm not getting paid to say that at all. I just really, really like it. And I love supporting projects, people, you know, platforms, anything that I love, I don't mind telling people about it because if I enjoyed it, you might enjoy it too. So on that note, I actually have a whole section over on the blog post about the tools, platforms, services, and products that I like to use. Some of them are affiliate links, so heads up, you'll see which ones those are. But just know that you can obviously always go to the regular website. You don't have to click through my link if you don't want to. But I do have some affiliate links on there, not for all of them, but for some of them. And all of them are actually things that I would recommend regardless. Like I'm very passionate about shouting out things that I like, that I enjoy, and supporting those creators and those people who help make my life better. Um, and I would do that regardless. But when I do it a lot, obviously I want to have an affiliate relationship. It just makes good sense for businesses. So if you're interested in like what makes me more productive, like Notion and Showit and Lightroom and ConvertKit, shout out to Teachable and Circle and Trackably and everybody else, Audible. Feel free to hop over there and just take a look because that's one part of the things that I really enjoyed in those productivity reports that I read from my colleagues. It's like they showed exactly what they used and why, and it made me discover some really great new tools. So I'm being transparent and showing you what I use and what makes me do better work. And perhaps you'll learn something from that too. So definitely hop on over and read the full blog post and check out my list of things that I love. And you might just find something that you love too. Finally, I want to say too that this report has to do with my goals, and I'm sharing it because I want you to see how I do things, but I want you to focus on you, right? Productivity is not about doing things as fast as possible and in competing with others about who can finish this or that fastest. No, productivity is about creating really deep results that are impactful for you, that lead to deep happiness, to fulfillment in life, to joy, to doing your best work, right? All of the good things in life. It's about you and your goals. So I want you to measure what matters to you. Don't worry about what I measure. What I measure matters to me. And those are the goals that I've set for myself because I need to work on those. You will have different goals that you need to work on, so measure for those things. Okay, don't worry about necessarily matching up what I'm doing with what you're doing. If you need more help figuring out what goals might be good for you, I do invite you to join us in a quarterly planning workshop. We have those 4 times a year, and the next one is coming up in June. So again, feel free to hop on over to the website and take a look if that's of interest. The first one is always free, so you have nothing to lose in joining us there and seeing my process again and how I set quarterly goals and how I get things done. And you'll just discover a little by little what matters to you. So I hope that helps. Thank you so much for watching this. I will be back next month, probably from Sweden. And yeah, I'll see you then.